Okay, so I'm going to give you the drive-by version of how to look at the equation of a conic section when it's not written in the standard equation form. In other words, when it's not obvious by looking at the equation that it's a parabola or circle, ellipse, hyperbola. So, for example, like the way it's written here. Okay. So, as you can see, this is the center radius form. If you were to FOIL this out, move the 16 over to the other side, combine like terms, it would look like this. Notice you have both an x squared term and a y squared term. They both have the same sign, meaning they're both positive in this scenario, and they have the exact same coefficient. Here we have an ellipse. Okay, ellipse. You both have an x squared and a y squared term. They're separated by addition. If you were to FOIL this out, and then get rid of this denominator by multiplying everything by 4, moving the 1 over, you would end up with this equation right here. Then we have a parabola. If we were to FOIL this, distribute this, move everything to one side, you'd end up with just one squared term, and in this case, that's the y squared term. So that's how we know that it's a parabola. Hyperbola, you have both an x squared and y squared term, but they're separated by subtraction. So when you FOIL this out and you get rid of the fractions, you have both an x squared and a y squared, but opposite signs and different coefficients. Coefficient 9, coefficient 1. All right, so how do you know? Look at who's squared and who's not. Look at the coefficients. Are they the same? Do they have the same sign? Do they have opposite signs? Okay, and when you're doing these comparisons, make sure that your x squared and your y squared terms are on the same side. So here I have a circle. Notice both my x and y term are squared. Same sign. Same sign, same coefficient. Okay. Ellipse. Okay, I have an x squared term and a y squared term. And their coefficients are different, but the signs are the same. Okay, so they have to have different coefficients. But they should both either be positive or they should both be negative. And again, that's when they're on the same side of the equal sign. So one way they'll try to trick you is that they'll have them on opposite sides. Don't compare them when they're on opposite sides. Compare them when they're on the same side of the equal sign. Parabola, like I said before, you only have one term that is squared, and that's the y squared term in this case, or it's just x squared term, not both. Hyperbola, okay, both x and y are squared, but notice that their coefficients are different. I have a coefficient 9, coefficient of, technically here, -1, but they also have different signs. So if this were an ellipse, this would be plus. But this is a hyperbola because they have opposite signs. I have an x squared term that's positive, y squared term that's negative, and they have different coefficients. Okay. And then you can go through this on your own and try to determine who's who.